Good morning to you and blessings. My name is Leighton Noreen. I'm at the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College and I'm the project lead on the PROMAR project. I have the privilege of being the Master of Ceremony for this event. The Honorable Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Education. Other, permanent secretaries. Sorry, I don't have the specific names here. I know exactly who are here. Dr. Moya Rotem, Interim President of the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College. Mr. Stuart Laplace, Director of the Bureau of Standards. Randall Thompson, Director of Marine Resources. We also have Mr. Alexander Riley, Chief Environmental Health Officer. Mr. Ron Buddy, Director of the Department of Urban Resilience and Development. Ms. Thema Ward, Senior Environmental Officer, Department of Physical Planning in Nevis. Mr. Evan Parry, Senior Environment Officer, Department of Environment. Mrs. Lynelle Morton, Environment Officer, Department of Environment. Ms. Jonelle Francis, Recycling Coordinator, Solid Waste Management Corporation in Nevis. Ms. Sheila James, Coordinator of the Nevis Recycling Project. Mr. Lenrick Lake, he is the project lead, one of the project leads. I am the project lead. He is a co-lead, the St. Kitts and Nevis PROMAR project, and he is also the Senior Projects Analyst at CFDC. Ms. Taylor Clayton, Regional Project Manager, Manager of the UNEP Cartagena Convention Secretariat, based in Jamaica. Mr. Richard Berner, Consultant for the Circular Economy in Delphi, Germany. Oh, okay, time bomb. Ms. Joyce Chang, Taiwan International Cooperation Development Fund. And hello, I see you now, thank you. Mr. Lesroy Williams, he's the communication specialist, and also for this function of the PROMAR project at the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College. Members of the PROMAR St. Kitts and Nevis project committee, we have a committee set up for that, in fact, like a secretariat. Members of the Board of Governors, senior management, faculty, staff, and students of the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College. Teachers, students of schools in St. Kitts, and students of schools in St. Kitts and Nevis, I believe, because they're also invited. Members of the media, invited guests. So I have the privilege of being the chair of this proceeding. And I want to welcome you, first of all. We have people, of course, from Germany, and Jamaica through UNEP. We also have persons from Nevis coming across the pond today, and we have some of our own persons in St. Kitts. So we will work together on this. Now, I will present to you the project concept, first of all. And let me step back, recognize Ms. Lisa Pestana. She is the Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Education, who just arrived. Good morning. So yes, the PROMAR project was brought to us by Delphi and UNEP, and is funded by BMU in Germany. So we are very grateful for that. And let me welcome all of those who are here at this moment, because we need you as partners. In fact, we want collective action as all of society approach, and so I really welcome you in that regard. I want to welcome you to St. Kitts and Nevis, our beautiful country, and also to the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College, where you are now. Now, the overview of the project, or background of the project, let me see here. Here's an agenda that you can follow briefly, but I would not circulate it in writing. We're trying to do some paper reduction. So there it is for today, for this morning. And then it goes to the end of the day there. If you'd like to go back and take a look at it, I'll give you 30 seconds. And there are another 30 seconds. All right. Now, I'm going straight into the PROMAR project because I wouldn't do too much of a broad welcome because we lost a little bit of time in the start here, about 5 minutes. So the PROMAR project aims to reduce the amount of plastics reaching the Caribbean Sea through promoting circular economy solutions. Essentially, the grant project financially supported by BMU out of Germany, led by Adelphi, also out of Germany, and implemented by local partners. Regionally by UNEP, as I mentioned, from the Cartagena Convention, the Secretariat in Jamaica. And there are 8 countries involved in this project. St. Kitts and Nevis, of course, we're grateful for this. There are other countries who were in the first phase, 3 of them, Colombia, Costa Rica, and the British, not the British Virgin Islands, Dominican Republic, yes. And then 5 countries in this phase, for which we are the counterpart to the second phase, would be Guyana, Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, of course here, and the British Virgin Islands. So we're in good company. And I must say, because all the countries that wash into the Caribbean Sea would be interested in this project, so I expect this project will grow tremendously. St. Kitts and Nevis is a partner to this, where we have received the funding for this country. So we don't have to work together with the other countries in this regard in terms of implementation, because each counterpart country will implement their own, but we will share information from time to time, and we can transfer knowledge, expertise, and competencies. In fact, we can share capacity, if you wish. There are 4 components here. One is for baseline and monitoring, and I will get into that a little more. There's a circular project implementations. That's in a circular economy, from collection to processing and that sort of thing. We also have policies, capacity building, and dialogues. So we want to set up that framework to give support to the government, especially, and I'll drill into that a little more. And then we want to do stakeholder awareness, and I think that all of us, including me, are stakeholders in this. I just want to give you a little bit of statistic here, that 23% of waste generated in St. Kitts and Nevis is plastic waste, which is approximately 20 tons per day. Of this, 3,675 tons are estimated to enter the marine environment each year. So that's alarming, I think. In fact, I think that in the Caribbean, we are among the highest waste production per capita in the world. It's amazing, because we import many things that are wrapped in packages and so on. So there are 4 project activities in this project. One is to analyze material flows and establish monitoring mechanisms. Also to have stakeholder consultation on this project. We will have that as one of them. And then one aspect of it, we will also have data collection from demonstration and observation sites along shorelines for identification and quantification of the sources. Because it will be very scientific, this aspect of it. We have to have data. We need to be data-driven. We cannot just guess. Many people have ideas. We all are experts in something or another. But ideas are good, but we need concepts, and we need data. And so that will be one of the aspects in that first activity. We want to conduct material flow analysis and baseline mapping of waste entering the aquatic environments. So from the terrestrial environment, much of that will get into the aquatic environment. So we want to trace the flow, the pathways and all that, but we want to quantify that. We also want to prepare standard operating procedures from lessons learned and conducting training and standard operating procedures. So the framework, this is all about frameworks, and it will be very systematic, programmatic, so we can transfer the knowledge readily. and then we can validate all of this. And it stands to scrutiny and all of that. Project Activity 2, to implement a pilot case at a selected site. And in our case, we have done a lot of reconnaissance, data gathering and so forth from the past and in recent times. And what we have done also was to identify a particular site as the demonstration site. There are other monitoring sites, but for a start, we want to get the demonstration site. And the demonstration site is a dual site, that is College Street Gut and Westbourne Gut, because they tend to converge as they reach the sea. And we will utilize suitable tools and technologies, for example, litter boom, to trap whatever before it reaches the sea, or as it reaches that point, we will collect them. Support innovations and current recycling initiatives. Analyze and evaluate and capture success stories for dissemination. Project Activity 3, establish the necessary supporting framework to support the government to implement the single plastic ban. Okay, so already, even though it's already started, we will want to partner with them to make this happen in a bigger way and a more effective way. We will have stakeholder consultation with stakeholders and the general public to foster support for the eventual ban. At the demonstration site, we will do that with residents around there, but there will be another stakeholder consultation or a survey that will be the entire country, Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We'll also draft legal and policy instruments to effect the ban. And of course, I already mentioned to analyze the information, etc. Project Activity 4. So every step of the way, in each of the activity category, we will analyze and disseminate information. Stakeholder awareness and dissemination of information on findings from 1 to 3 that I mentioned before. We'll want to then organize education and awareness events on waste prevention. For example, coastal and underwater cleanup, panel discussions, media advertising, and integration into school curricula and stakeholder events. We also want to conduct stakeholder surveys, evaluations, and assessments to assess knowledge, attitudes, and behavior. We call that a CAP survey. So we can understand not only the knowledge and the skills, but attitudes and behaviors are perhaps the most essential when it comes to transformation, such as plastic, moving away from plastic. Anytime we have something like this for transformation, we want to get in the schools as children at a very young age. We also want to disseminate public and awareness material on litter prevention. And there are a few graphics here, which many of us will recognize. As you can see, this is downtown Basseterre by College Street and Westbourne Guts. There's one from Nevis at the landfill there. These two are from Nevis, the landfill by the sea, near Long Point, I think. So now I will call upon Mr. Evan Parry, the Senior Environment Officer, for opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Narain, for those very comprehensive opening remarks and overview of the project. I recognize at this time the Minister of Education. I recognize the PS as well as the CEO, as well as the hierarchy of environment, climate action, and constituency empowerment. Allow me to first thank the project organizers and our host today for extending the kind invitation to participate in this important project launch of the PROMAR project, meaning prevention of marine litter in the Caribbean, right here in St. Kitts and Nevis. I take this opportunity to commend the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College for stepping forward as the lead implementing partner of this vital initiative. Your commitment as a national academic institution to real-world environmental problem solving is both admirable and timely. We especially want to thank Dr. Leighton Narain, whose steadfast leadership and passion for this cause has guided the local development of the project since inception. I also wish to commend Ms. Linnell Morton at the back, Senior Environmental Officer, for her leadership in shaping the project and guiding key interventions on behalf of the ministry. Special thanks as well to Ms. Taylor Clayton, Regional Project Manager at the Cartagena Convention Secretariat, UNEP, for her coordination and valuable technical support throughout the process. As someone who has been involved in this initiative since its conceptual stage in mid-2021, I have had the privilege of seeing the PROMAR project evolve from a compelling proposal to a comprehensive action-oriented implementation framework. This journey, spanning more than 4 years, has reflected the very essence of partnerships, persistence, and vision. From those early brainstorming sessions to regional planning meetings, and now the rollout of tangible activities within our federation, it is encouraging to witness how collaboration among local institutions, regional experts, and international sponsors can bring to life an initiative that addresses a pressing environmental challenge: marine litter and plastic pollution. As indicated by Dr. Narain, St. Kitts and Nevis, like many other developing states, faces a disproportionately high burden of plastic waste generation relative to population size. The statistics are sobering. We generate over 1.6 kilograms of waste per person per day, more than double the global average. And an estimated 23% of that is plastic waste. Even more concerning, over 3,600 tons of this plastic finds its way into our marine environment annually, threatening biodiversity, livelihoods, and our own health. The PROMAR project does not merely acknowledge this challenge, it tackles it head-on through a multifaceted approach that brings together monitoring, innovation, education, and policy transformation. The ministry is particularly pleased to see that the project complements the government's broader sustainable development priorities. Under the guidance of the Honorable Minister, Dr. Joel Clark, the ministry continues to champion the Sustainable Island State agenda, a vision that emphasizes environmental resilience, waste reduction, and the green economic transformation. The PROMAR project fits squarely within this vision. More specifically, the ministry and department are encouraged by the project's emphasis on, 1, supporting the implementation of the national single-use plastic ban, empowering youth and students in scientific research and innovation, enhancing recycling and waste diversion efforts through circular economy solutions, and building awareness and behavioral change across all sectors of society. We commend the decision to include schools, local recyclers, and civil society organizations in the project activities. The integration of young people in data collection, coupled with hands-on pilot interventions like river litter booms, creates a replicable model that can be scaled across the region. It is also encouraging to see the strategic alignment of the project with our national solid waste management policies and the efforts of the Solid Waste Management Corporation, with whom the department continues to work closely. This whole of government and whole of society approach is exactly what is needed to address the growing threat of marine litter in a meaningful and sustained way. On behalf of the ministry, I want to take this moment to express sincere appreciation to the German Federal Ministry of the Environment, Nature and Conservation and Nuclear Safety, BMU, for its financial support, and to Adelphi for their technical coordination across the region. Your investment is helping to safeguard the marine ecosystems of St. Kitts and Nevis for future generations. To the team at SafeBC, I say thank you again. We are proud to see our National College at the helm of such a critical and forward-looking project. Partnership between the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College and the Ministry of Environment is one that we value deeply, and we look forward to further strengthening it in the months ahead. To the broader implementation team, stakeholders, and students who will be engaged, I want to assure you of the full support of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. You are not alone in this. The Ministry and the Department of Environment stands ready to work with you at every step of the way, from policy alignment and technical support to outreach and advocacy. In closing, let us be reminded that preventing marine litter is not just an environmental issue. It is a social, economic, and a generational responsibility. Projects like PROMAR are not only about cleaning up our coastlines, they are about creating systems and habitats that ensure we no longer treat the sea as a dumping ground, but instead as a cherished and vital part of our island identity. Congratulations again to all those who have worked tirelessly to bring us to this point. Let us now commit to making the PROMAR not just a success story, but a model for future environmental action in our federation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parry. And I want to say we have a great appreciation from CFBC for your confidence in us as a research and development partner, but also an implementation management agency, or at least in the research and development unit, which we are expanding almost daily. One of the things that I recognize there very quickly is that he mentioned 3 categories of objectives. One is economic, social, and environmental. All 3 of those categorically form sustainable development concepts for implementation. Thank you. I will now call upon Ms. Thema Ward from the Nevis Environmental Officer to make remarks. That's remarks from the field.
Good morning, all. I would first like to adopt the protocol that's already been established. Where to start? The environment itself, as powerful as it is, as beautiful it is, the place that we promote so much here, do get, unfortunately, severe impact from the pollutions that are everyday use that we cast aside. Being in the environmental field, I deal with terrestrial as well as maritime. I deal with in Nevis, we have established, finally, we have declared the Nevis Peak Camps River watershed. We have declared it on the 29th of April this year. So, finally. But even before that, we still enforce in our Department of Physical Planning and Environment in terms of certain developments above the 1,000-foot contour lines, minus the areas that were already established. So we minimize the type of development that occur up there, just to definitely protect our water sources. In my field, I've seen the devastation of plastics, all types of litter that enters into our guts that eventually reached our wetlands. And where do they go? They go into our ocean. Unfortunately, I've had the experience to take part in necropsies of turtles and birds, and I've seen the devastation of plastic bags or even straws taken out of turtles. They were starving. That shouldn't be the case. So when I saw the emails, although I was rushing out my department at that time, my office, I was actually delighted to see something like this. I have taken part in so many little studies with marine litter and courses, so it was really nice to see that this coming to fruition. Just letting you know, heads up, that boom that you guys gonna be doing, we're gonna be doing it in Nevis already. So effectively, once the successful bidding occurs, we should be starting construction in September. And this is from the OECS Biospace project. So over 2 years ago, we started examining, this is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. So we've been analyzing some of our wetlands that we do look at, that we do monitored in Nevis. They're filled with tilapias, shrimp, crawfish, blue crabs. So we want to preserve that. I know maybe not a lot of us locals may be interested in eating them, but we still have so many people from all around that lives in our islands that are interested in eating these creatures. So what we started doing, we first analyzed what was in those wetlands and also noticed a lot of garbage. So with that, the Biospace project, we selected 3 areas on the island that will be setting up these trash booms. And it's gonna be coated to protect it from the sea blast. We also gonna be linking up with solid waste in terms of continue monitoring and moving the garbage out fast enough. So we basically try to keep our partnership with solid waste, because we don't want where a heavy rainfall occurred and all that garbage goes back into the sea. So we basically been having conversation throughout the years, and we've always had that wonderful relationship with solid waste. So we want to continue going forward to ensure that we keep that relationship very solid. So if we start that project, you can come over anytime to see how it goes. And if you get an extra funding, I actually have a couple areas that we can select. Because there is also the Nevis Peak Camps River watershed starts from the mountain but ends up into the sea. So you're going through a wetland and a big estuary. So one of my areas that I actually want to put down, if you have a little extra funding, send my way so I can actually put a trash room there. But I've worked for years, volunteer with the Nevis Historical and Conservation Society. They dealt with the Ocean Cleanup Day. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's
And I was amazed how much garbage we can pick up from along our beaches. Some of the garbage are not ours. Don't worry, guys. I know our numbers are high, but we've managed to actually investigate where some of these garbage come from. It's from our neighbors. Because of the ocean currents, we have all these garbage. And there's a lot of garbage I found on Booby Island that shouldn't even be there. And it's from our neighbors. So yes, we might get that high statistical number, and it looks bad, and we're devastated. But we also have to have a conversation with our neighbors. What are you guys are doing? Are you willing to work with us to reduce that garbage? And then we can get a more cleaner, healthier seas, and our coastlines can be a lot cleaner. We don't need the garbage to be there on the sands, disintegrating and then impacting the lives of our turtles. We don't need that. Sinkies have leatherbacks. They boast about their leatherbacks. Nevis, we are hawksbill, mostly hawksbill. But we want to promote what we have. We don't have diamonds and golds, that kind of stuff. What we have is our environment, our natural beauty, and that is something that we do need to continue to promote and protect to the fullest. So I join you, Dr. Noreen, in thanking you for this project. And like I said, if you have extra funding, send some my way. All right, thank you.
Well, that's fabulous. We have views from the field, and cannot get any better than that. But one of the things is that Nevis and St. Kitts, we always work together in terms of equity. However, the demonstration site, I went across to Nevis as well and looked at the Charleston waterfront and also Bath River that goes through the Bath development there, the tourist resort, and then out into the sea. But the thing is this, we are thinking in terms of methodology to set up a demonstration site, but we're going to have many observation sites, including in Nevis, to see what's happening. But we will take the lessons learned from the demonstration that we're developing here and then replicate it. And I think it will permeate the entire federation, all around St. Kitts, all around Nevis. One of the things about this also is that when we map our capacity, even in St. Kitts itself, it's not only about the capacity of the CFBC, but it's what we can map in the country. We have to find the strategy and refine and redefine and all that stuff to see the framework that we can use for an intersectoral platform that will really function to get results, a practical one. And we can do the same thing, of course, between St. Kitts and Nevis, and I think for the entire region. The reason also other members of the other member countries in the Caribbean are included is because we may get some of theirs, and we get some from North America and elsewhere, and, but some of ours will go there as well. So we're all in the same pool. So it is a collective effort. And one of the things about the plastic reaching the sea is very insidious because it turns into microplastic, and it's very insidious. It reacts with enzymes when we eat the fresh-caught, wild-caught fish or salmon, and it gets into our system. So it's a major thing. I don't want to get into all of the science of it at this time, but we will roll this out over the next year and two. And then we will want to expand from there. So Ms. Ward, yes, we can attract more resources when we demonstrate what we can do with what we have. And so I agree with you, and we will work together on this. Thank you. Okay, now I have the privilege of calling on my boss and my other boss for the project in UNEP is Mr. Taylor Clayton, and then I have a boss at home, so I have many bosses. So I have the privilege of calling Dr. Rotham to give views from academia and the institutional leadership. Dr. Rotham.
Good morning. Good morning. I adopt the protocol that has been so ably established, Dr. Noreen. There is a saying, we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. At the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College, we carry this ethos not simply as a mantra of sustainability, but as a mandate of responsibility. As the sole indigenous post-secondary institution in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis, our mission has never been confined to the walls of the classroom, nor has it been bounded by curriculum. CFBC's role, strategic and civic, a role that calls us to engage, to educate, and to lead in ways that safeguard the future of this, our beloved Twin Island Federation, and the people who call it home. I also call it home. Today, with the launch of PROMAR, the Prevention of Marine Litter in the Caribbean Sea, we take another decisive step in that direction. This initiative, in partnership with UNEF and Adelphi, and funded by the German Federal Ministry for the Environment, places St. Kitts Nevis among Caribbean and Latin American nations committed to reducing the flow of plastic waste into our marine ecosystems. For CFBC, this is more than a significant achievement. It is deeply personal. Our waters have long shaped the soul of this federation. They carried our ancestors, sustain industries, and inspire our people. Yet today, they face mounting threats from plastic pollution, much of it originating on land. In this context of CFBC understanding the challenge that's posed by marine litter, it is not incidental that we have been chosen as the national implementing partner for PROMAR. We bring to this task more than academic credibility. We bring institutional networks that span ministries, private enterprises, civil society, and local communities. We bring a capacity for convening, for coordinating, and for translating policy into action. From stakeholder consultations and science-based activities to policy drafting and community action, the activities envisioned under this project speak to a vision of environmental stewardship that is evidence-based, encompassing, and enduring. The synergy between CFBC's governance structures or board, or administration or technical team, and the PROMAR stakeholders reflects what happens when national vision meets institutional capacity. The success of PROMAR hinges not only on research and education, but on the leadership and policy resolve of governments. We at CFBC understand this deeply. This is why across successive administrations and shifting political cycles, the college has never wavered in its support of the national agenda. Our constant has been our commitment to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I thank Mr. Parry for publicly declaring the commitment of the Department of Environment to this project. And I thank the Department of Environment under your minister, the Honorable Dr. Joel Clark, your director, Mr. Ed Mead, and of course I also recognize the work that has been put in by Mrs. Linnell Morton. We at CFBC, we do not stand alone. We can't do it alone. And so I am acknowledging that this is a Herculean task, but it is also an interagency effort. Whether it has been climate resilience, educational innovation, health policy, or social development, CFBC has been present, serving on national committees, drafting and reviewing sector plans, leading public forum, and engaging our students in applied research that is both practical and principled. Our history of student-led environmental research projects, or participation in national waste audits, or work with coastal cleanup initiatives, these have not been mere extracurriculars. And I see our environmental science lecturer here, Ms. Deetra Wharton. I say thanks to you for the many years of coastal cleanups and the various national initiatives that have been taken. I see past lecturer Ms. Clelia Davis here, biology, and of course the renowned Stuart Laplace that has served the CFBC and has been quite instrumental in where we are today with the capacity to take on this project. We have made it our mission to ensure that CFBC is not just a place of learning, but a partner in environmental sustainability. To realize the vision, the role of the PROMAR team cannot be overstated. The collaboration we see here today among academic leaders, environmental officers, local authorities, UNEP specialists, and project facilitators, it is not only practical, it is essential. Picture, if you will, the effort as a net cast into the sea. It is not one strand that holds its shape or its strength. It is the interweaving of many, each connected, each under tension, yet working in cohesion. This project will succeed only if the strands of governance, technical expertise, public education, and policy reform remain tightly woven. Let us launch this. Let this launch mark the beginning of a long, purposeful journey. As we move to establish monitoring frameworks, pilot circular economy solutions, and support the legislative processes to ban single-use plastics, we must also commit to transforming public behavior, public lasting awareness, and telling our stories boldly. The college stands ready to support, to lead, and to listen. The future of our islands depends on what we do today with our waste, our waters, and our will to act. And in this shared enterprise, the Clarence Fitzroy Brand College is honored to be both anchor and sail. Thank you.
Well, I must confess, thank you, Dr. Rutham. I must confess that I cannot even add anything there. It's very comprehensive and eloquent. Thank you, Doc. Yeah. Okay, so let's see here now. Institution. Okay. Now, we call upon Ms. Taylor Clayton, the International for International Inventions or Interventions on Marine Litter Prevention.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Taylor Clayton. I'm the Regional Project Manager for the PROMAR project, and I'm based in Jamaica. I work at the United Nations Environment Program's Cartagena Convention Secretariat. It's really a pleasure to be here on your beautiful island of St. Kitts this week. So thank you very much to Dr. Narain and to the entire CFBC team for hosting us here this week. It's really a pleasure. And thank you also to the government of St. Kitts and Nevis for the commitment and to all the speakers who came before me for the warm welcome, commitment to this work. We're very much looking forward to progressing the activities with all of your support. So I want to start, is it okay? Yeah, oh, like this. I'm a bit taller maybe. Thank you. I want to start just with a bit of an introduction. So as mentioned, I'm based at the United Nations Environment Program's Cartagena Convention Secretariat. I'm getting a hand signal. Feedback, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So hopefully the sound quality is better. Excellent. So the United Nations Environment Program is the leading global environmental authority that sets the global environmental agenda. Our headquarters is in Nairobi, Kenya, and as mentioned, I'm based out of our office in Jamaica, which is hosting the Cartagena Convention Secretariat. Many of you may be familiar with the Cartagena Convention, particularly those who are working on environmental policy agenda in the region, but the Cartagena Convention is the only regional legal agreement that addresses several coastal and marine environmental threats facing the wider Caribbean region, and there's 26 parties to the convention. Under the convention, there are three protocols. And so there's these provide different different additional commitments and obligations to protect the Caribbean Sea. So you can see the three protocols on the screen on pollution from oil spills, on specially protected areas and wildlife, and land-based sources of marine pollution, to which there are 15 parties. So my work's fitting under that latter bullet point on land-based sources of marine pollution. So that's where all of our plastic pollution work falls, and that includes the PROMAR work and the PROMAR project here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So I think I don't need to speak too much to this slide, because I think everyone in this room is familiar with the plastic pollution challenge, but I did want to share a few key statistics and points with you all today. So over the last years, we've seen exponential growth in plastic production, reaching 430 million tons globally. We see about 19 to 23 million tons per year of plastic waste entering aquatic ecosystems, and 80% of that is coming from land-based sources. So we know and we recognize that plastic pollution is coming from fishing nets and marine vessels and so forth, and that is a very legitimate problem that also needs to be addressed. But we also know that 80% of that is coming from land-based sources, and much of that is from human-based activities, including from single-use plastic and from industry. And that's a problem we very much are looking to address, and one that is in our control and we can address. In Latin America and the Caribbean, we see around 145,000 tons per day sent to open dump sites. So that's including 17,000 tons per day of plastic waste alone. I don't know exactly what that statistic looks like here in St. Kitts. Dr. Noreen kindly took us on a drive past the landfill so we could look at that. But I know that that's a prevalent problem here in St. Kitts, also in Nevis. And I think many of you would have seen in the news the problem of microplastics who are ending up in our bodies, in human body and animals as well. And that's something that I think the science is still emerging, but we know that's a really severe problem. And microplastics, by definition, are very small in nature, and we cannot always see them, but we do see the macroplastics on the beach, and then there's all the microplastics that maybe are not even visible to the human eye, but we know that they are causing severe environmental and health problems. So this slide here shows plastics emissions from rivers. I think what's really important to note is that we know that large rivers, when it rains here, I understand it's all coming through the guts, but we know that bodies of water essentially are bringing a lot of that marine plastic to the sea. So even, I mean, here we are on a small island, but I think even in larger land masses, we know that the plastic pollution that's produced or is not properly disposed of or not recycled far upstream, far away from a sea, is still ending up in the sea. So if you look at the Caribbean region, you can see these red dots, and that's there's not a red dot on St. Kitts and Nevis, probably due to scale, which is a good thing. But we do know that this problem is really pervasive in this region. I think maybe a decade ago, when the plastic pollution agenda was gaining a lot of momentum, a lot of projects initially started working in Southeast Asia. Because if you look at Southeast Asia, you can see how big those dots are, and that's largely due to population size, population density, and so forth. But we know and we see the problem very real, very prevalent here in the Caribbean Sea. But there's good news and there's hope at the international level, also at the local level. In February 2022, there was a landmark resolution. So at UNEA, which is the United Nations Environment Assembly, there was a commitment to develop a global legally binding agreement on plastic pollution. And that was adopted, 2022, around 3 years ago. And over the past 3 years, members of the international community have been negotiating a legally binding agreement on plastic pollution that would essentially create a mandate globally to reduce plastic pollution. Now, I think many of you from the Environment Department or Ministry may be very familiar or may even have been directly involved, but we know this is very political. We know it's very complex because we know plastic pollution is transboundary. One of our colleagues spoke earlier to this issue about the problem of waste washing up on the shore here because of the neighboring countries, right? So we know this is a transboundary issue, and we know that we cannot solve this alone, and that's exactly what such a global treaty would aim to address, right? Because this isn't a siloed issue in St. Kitts and Nevis. This is an issue that is very relevant and important for the entire world. So in August of this year, there's the final round of negotiations for this global legally binding treaty. So we cross our fingers and hope that it is an ambitious resolution and an ambitious agreement that's reached, which has special considerations also for small island developing states, because we also know there are unique needs here in terms of addressing this problem with limited capacity, smaller population size, but equally a big challenge, right? So the new instrument, again, is yet to be formally concluded and will be in August this year, we believe, but will in principle address promotion of sustainable production and consumption of plastics, including on product design, environmentally sound waste management, also looking at provision on national action plans. So again, that's where more of a tailored approach would come in to look at different circumstances of countries, because we also know it's not a level playing field and that each country has its own needs and own challenges. So also looking at scientific and socioeconomic information and assessments, encouraging action by all stakeholders, industry, government, civil society, academia, capacity building and technical assistance, and cooperation and coordination. So I'm personally looking forward to following this process in August and seeing where we land. And I think that's actually after August is when the real work begins, because once we have this global legally binding agreement, it needs to be implemented, and that's where the challenge will really begin. But one step at a time, and we see this as a big step forward in the international agenda, looking at addressing plastic pollution. So this graphic is in Spanish, and I apologize for that. But just to summarize this, this graphic is demonstrating national or local regulations on single-use plastics adopted in this region. So in the first circle, you see the Caribbean, then you see South America, Mesoamerica, Middle America, Central America. But we know that many countries in this region, St. Kitts and Nevis included, are proactively adopting policies to tackle single-use plastics, to ban or prohibit single-use plastics, or looking at bans specifically on single-use bags or other materials, or some are even looking at regulations on microplastics. And I'm very pleased to hear the developments here on the single-use plastics ban and the graduated approach here. Just yesterday at the supermarket, I saw a sign right outside, so I think that's really great in terms of raising public awareness and also, raising the level of ambition. Of course, enforcement is always challenging, but can certainly commend the government of St. Kitts and Nevis for taking this step. And you're in good company in the region in terms of others looking at similar mandates. So in sum, what I wanted to share is just the necessity for international cooperation, because as I said before, and as speakers before me have said, this is a transboundary issue. This is an issue where international cooperation is a necessity. Myself and my colleague Richard are very pleased to be here today representing kind of that angle, the international cooperation angle from our respective entities, but really the need for collaboration, cooperation is vital. This isn't a challenge that St. Kitts and Nevis will be able to address alone. This is really something that we need to work with industry here on the island. We need to work with neighboring countries. We need to plug into the regional and global agenda. And I know much of that is already being done, and I commend all of you for that, but also encourage you to keep up that spirit of collaboration, because multilateralism really is the only way forward and the only way we're going to address this. And as mentioned previously, an international agreement is possible, and we do hope to reach this in August. And it really could bring tangible benefits for St. Kitts and Nevis as well. I'd already spoken to a bit on the regional collaboration angle, but collaborating with myself and my colleagues at UNEP, Cartagena Convention Secretariat, and other bodies such as CARICOM and GRULAC, where I think there's a spirit of regional collaboration and additional capacity and support there. I'd also already mentioned the special and differentiated circumstances as SIDS that we look to support and consider, because that's really imperative throughout the international agreement process, but moreover when kind of looking at designing interventions to support St. Kitts and Nevis, but also beyond. I also think there's a really important piece of the puzzle here that maybe is sometimes overlooked, but really looking at the trade and import angle. We know, and I'm aware that in St. Kitts and Nevis, much of the goods are imported, as in this region more broadly, the reliance on imported goods is high. And so I think also in working with trade officials, with customs officials, and similar, we can really look at, okay, what are we bringing into the island in terms of plastic, single-use plastic goods or plastic products? And looking at this also from an economic and trade angle is really, really important, because as my colleague said before, this is not just an environmental issue, but very much an economic one as well. And finally, the role of local policies and regional good practice. Over the course of this afternoon and tomorrow, for some of you, I know some of you are only here for this morning segment, but over the course of today and tomorrow, we will be looking at some of these policies that, well, are already being championed here in St. Kitts and Nevis, but also looking at regional good practices and what we can learn from other small island states, including in the Caribbean, but also with examples from the Pacific or other regions, and really looking at what we can learn from those who have piloted interventions before us, and how we can build and improve together through the PROMAR project. So I think that's my last slide. It is. So thank you very much. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be here, and I look forward to working with all of you over the next few days. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Taylor-Clayton, for giving that world overview to show the magnitude of the problem, which you brought out so well. And as a matter of fact, any environmental issue usually transfers boundaries, national boundaries, regional boundaries. I also want to say these kinds of issues also transcend generations. So we have to look at the intergenerational equity in this as well. And that's why we want to get into schools, because students will take it far and beyond our lifetime. They will take it in the context of St. Kitts and Nevis, back to their parents and even grandparents in our context, and also to their community, so it's very effective. And that's how we can reach a wide audience. I have evidence that in Dieppe Bay, one of the fish landing sites, landed there many, many years ago was a buoy that came all the way from Canada, if you look at the label on it, and that sort of thing, or the address and so on. So the magnitude is immense. All right, now I would call upon Ms. Joyce Chang from the Taiwan International Cooperation Development Fund, ICDF. Ms. Chang.
Okay, everybody might take a deep breath. We're just setting up the slides. Can you have it in, I would like to have it in full tone, you would have to jump like that. Is it okay when we show it like that?
Or maybe smaller?
Smaller? Like that?
Yeah.
it's fine. Yeah.
That's fine?
Yeah.
Okay. Just would like to have the full screen, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Is it will be better?
It will be fine still. You will see it. So?
Okay. Page down. Sorry. May I know how to use the page down? Enter? Oh, use enter? Back? Oh, okay. All right, morning, everyone. I'm Joyce. I'm the project manager from Taiwan Technical Commission, or you can call Taiwan ICDF. All right, so before I share my project, I want to ask you a few questions. So first question, do you know we do the recycling in the St. Kitts, also Nevis? Okay, if you know, please raise hands. Okay, not all, but most, okay. And may I know, do you do the recycling in your daily life? If you do, please raise hands. Okay, good. But looks not all, okay. That's why I'm here today. Very important to share with you my recycling project. So before the project, I would like to give you some project background. So I think the presentation, you probably get some idea how much the waste we produce every day. So here in St. Kitts and Nevis, actually we produce the waste every year is around 32,000 tons. You probably doesn't have any idea how much it is. But if you compare to global average, it's pretty shock. It's a lot, okay? More than double, twice than average in global, and even higher than the Caribbean area. So actually this is caused our landfill overloading issue, and it's also impact to our ocean. That's why 4 years ago, the St. Kitts and Nevis government raised hand to Taiwan government to give them some idea, some project to see if we can improve that. That's why we will be here for the recycling project. Okay, so the project name is Solid Waste Management and Recycling Project, and it started from 2021, and now it's almost 4 years, so now we're running for the phase 2 project. And we work close with the environmental ministry and also the health ministry and both island solid waste management. Our scope is trying to build up recycling system and increase their recycling awareness, and also help them to sort it out the garbage at the household. Okay, so what do we do? So first, we target 2 types for the recycling, which is the plastic bottles and the metal cans. All right, and we also trying to set up some recycling points or station in 7 locations, both in St. Kitts and also Nevis. So people can drop off their bottles in our recycling tent. And not only for that, we also set up the 2 public recycling stations. And also we work close with some organization to set up a recycling bin. For example, like the hotel, restaurant, school, even the government office. So we're trying to cooperate with more organizations and to shooting for more people. All right. And then during this around almost 4 years, we counting, actually we have a lot of people participate, and it's more than 30,000 people participate. And counting until this April, we collect more, it's almost close 400,000 pounds recyclables. We also invest the recycling facility. You can see from the photos. We have the machine to compress the bottles and baler it, and then shipping it to overseas. So
you can see for our collection is most the water bottles. And during the recycling, we also see the data is actually around 96% is the plastic bottles. And by the way, most bottles is from the drinking water bottles. So we have a lot of bottle in this island, all right? So we have a lot of opportunity, I should say. Okay, so only, not only for that, we continue to the recycling improvement. So specifically for this year, we invest to expansion our recycling facility in both islands. And in May, actually last week or last 2 weeks, we already completed our recycling facilities. Yeah, so we plan to invest more machine to have different recycling items. This year, end of this year, we plan to fan out for the cardboard paper items. Yeah. All right, so like I mentioned before, we collect a lot of bottle, we compress it, and we shipping outside. And so far, we already shipping outside for 4 40 feet container, which is around more than 66,000 pounds. Also, in the meantime, we also plan to working on a recycling initiative for the products. And so I want to show you something. So this year, I should give you some background. It's maybe easy to understand. So 2 or 3 years ago, when I on the street talk to people, oh, do you know recycling? They say they know. But I ask them, do you know after the recycling process, what it can become? Nobody know. So actually, here, people still need to get more information how it can become. So like the bottles, what it can become the new product. So that's why this year, we plan to use the Taiwan technology to making a really new product. Okay, so this is the T-shirt. It's making from the bottles. 100% is from bottles without others. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, and this is making, guess how many bottles can making this? 12. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so these T-shirts use the 12 bottles. And you can touch the quality. It's very hard to make. It's good? Yeah, it's very good, right? Yeah. And not only for that, we also making the shopping bag. Yes. All these 2 products making by only bottles. Okay. So we plan to making more, and then later this year we will shipping to here. Yeah, but you know shipping to here is high cost, so this is the way. But just want to let you see, you know, the bottles. It can become the real product, all right? And in Taiwan, the technology is pretty common. Yeah, but I think that here we should have more to let people understand why we need to do recycle.
May I ask a question?
Oh, sure. Oh, you want to meet?
Testing?
Is it okay?
Yeah. Whoopsie. Is okay. Test. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, thanks. I just thought we might. I mean, you just said you would accept the question, and I thought if we have a mic, then maybe circulating if somebody else would also want to ask something.
Sure.
And I would be interested in, did you have any contact with the hotellery sector here, with the hotels, or did they respond? Or because I'm wondering, there are so many big hotels here, and they probably have a big impact. So yeah, do you have any experience in that regard?
Yeah, actually we work many hotel locally. So like a Marriott Hotel and Kitty Shin Hill as well. Okay, and Four Seasons in Nevis, for example. Actually, they really want to be volunteer involved on this project. So they provide a lot of bottles, and we go there collect the bottles. Yeah, and also in some hotel, they even have their internal competition. for the recycling because they want to encourage their employee to do the recycling at not only in working but also at home. Yeah, so I think it's very good, start from we initiate with them and they start for working in their hotel and then also impact for their employees. Yeah, so it's just example, not only for hotel but some restaurant. Yeah, and like a previous I sharing, we work with the 64 some organization and all is volunteer. So they know we're doing this and they raise hand, we want to do as well. So we provide bin for them and then they start collect the bottles and we provide a transportation service, something like that.
Cool. Thank you very much.
All right.
I think that the MC will permit me to ask a question as well.
No problem.
Okay, I love the idea of redefining waste as a resource or raw material. And I do a lot of that in agriculture and some other things too, even in plastics, glass bottles, etc., for construction materials. So I do some of that pretty much on my own. But the question really is that from that shirt that you showed us, what is the effect of that when it goes through the laundry and the wastewater that comes from that, would it turn also into microplastics?
So your question is, what is the...
From the shirt, when it goes into the laundry, wash,
yeah,
can it turn into microplastics?
Yeah, good question. So actually, I also discussed this part with the manufacturer, with the for the t-shirts. Actually, the vendor told to me they also do some tests and do a sampling. So you don't need to worry about that. I also want to give you some idea. Actually, like our normal t-shirt, actually part of like maybe 20%, 30%, they have plastic inside already. So they already do the sampling to make sure it's not have a second pollution in the environmental. Yeah, no problem. Okay, then let me move in for the next page. All right, so we know education is very, very important during this system, right? So first we set up the recycling social media platform, which is Facebook and Instagram. And not only for that, we also have some federal recycling competition. And previously, we work with the primary school. I think last is a very cool experience. I think probably some of you also have last experience, okay? Yeah, with the children, they're really excited for the recycling competition. And good news, this year we also plan to do again, but more big scope. So it's coming soon, all right? And we also use some like the newspaper, billboard, TV news, also TV talk show, and radio, some online news trying to reach out our recycling concept and encourage people to join the recycling. And not only for that, we also use face-to-face recycling education promotion. For example, like now it's almost summertime, so like we went to the summer camps to teach the children what is recycling. So you can see many children, like they do the recycling competition. Also, we use some local events like the Agricultural Open Day. So people will come to the camps and we have some like recycling games with people. So they can have some idea how to sort the garbage, why we need to do the recycle, and what's the garbage can become a new product. So they can build up their concept by our games. Yeah, and so far we reach a lot of people, but it needs to continue and it will not be end. Yeah, so we continue working on that. And last part is, I think it's also very important. It's not only education, more important, we need to build up our local ability, our capacity to run in these systems. So my projects, we try to host some like the workshop, like the conference, to share with everyone like Taiwan's experience or overall overseas experience And also we trying to have some training to build the local people how to running the machine, how to running the recycling operation. Yeah, and of course more and more discussion meeting to define our strategy, what's moving for the next. And here I want to share something with you also very cool is, specifically for this year, we start doing the waste sampling from the household, which is mean, maybe you can see from the photos, we're trying to sort it for all the garbage, household garbage, by the garbage truck. And we will sort it around maybe 20 items and see most of the waste category and how much quantity. And so far, we already working almost 6 months, and we find that the most garbage is what you guessed. Huh? The plastic is the top one. And not only bottles, but also plastic, the bag, the shopping bag is really a lot, yeah. And the second and third one actually is the kitchen waste and also the cardboard. So we have a lot of the garbage, a lot of waste that item. But we will continue doing that sorting and for 1 year. So next year we plan to have the data change chart to understand all the waste situation. And later, I would like to have the Taiwan consulting to give us some idea how we manage all the waste by different category. Yeah, so this is just give you some brief idea about what we are doing. Yeah, and the most important I want to share with you is we plan to plant a seed in everyone's heart to remind you, yeah, we need to start by ourselves. Right? It's always not to be late, but we need to start. That's do recycling. Thank you. Any question?
Thank you very much, Ms. Chang, for bringing that practical aspect of it to us. For that matter, we're also aware that the economies of scale in a small community or small scale anywhere sometimes is not economically effective. But one of the things that we sometimes don't do a lot is to look for co-benefits when we do something, where we look at the benefit to the environment. And I don't think the metrics are well developed in the social sciences as in the natural sciences, but maybe not quite so because they're different sciences, you see? So we have to be able to value that some more and work with the economies of scale. But when we can collaborate, this will become very effective. And we are ready to be partners. In fact, we have already done a stakeholder mapping in the beginning of this project, prior to leading up to this launch. And so we will be looking for more partners collectively in St. Kitts and Nevis and the wider Caribbean to tackle this problem of recycling. I have a few announcements here. Vehicle number P4989 needs to clear the driveway. Please do. I don't think that's mine. I think I'm parked in a spot. Yeah. So please. Secondly, I would just like to make a few announcements. Restrooms are on the lower floor here along the corridor to the my far right-hand side. Then please return the utensils and serving dishes to the lounge. Do not leave them on the side of the room or even on the corridor, please. Now, I want to thank you very much, each and every one of you, because we are all in this together. We play a role. Whether we contribute to it, we are all affected by it. So we have stakes in it. And I look forward to having the workshops to follow this one. So this brings us to the close of the opening ceremony. And I want to especially thank the Honorable Jeffrey Handley, Minister of Education, but also the Deputy Prime Minister, and of course the Permanent Secretary, Lisa Pestana from the Ministry of Education, and all other parties that have come to this. I thank you all very much. We will now move into a break, and after the break we will reconvene. I think here, let's see what the time is. Yeah, we are making good time. We will reconvene at 10:45 for those who will be in the workshop sessions. Oh, a panel. Yeah, let me see.
Workshops after lunch.
Okay, a coffee break. Yeah, okay, so there's a coffee break, and when we reconvene, we will have a press interview for about 15 minutes, and then the panel discussion at 11 to 12, and then we'll break for lunch. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, the coffee break, sorry, is going to be on the floor below in the hospitality department. Thank you.
Test, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Test.
Okay, so good morning to all of you, and thank you very much for being here for this short, it will be very brief, sort of interview about the launch of the PROMAR project here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And my name is Les Roy Williams, and I work here at the college, and I am the communications specialist on the PROMAR project, the implementation of it here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So basically, I will just ask you to say a little bit about who you are and actually why you are here for this 2 days of workshops, the importance of you being here, and so on, the importance of the project. Yeah. So I'll start with...
Good morning to everyone. My name is Lynelle Morton, and I am an environmental officer at the Department of Environment, also the focal point for the PROMAR project.
Hi, good morning. Thema Ward, Department of Physical Planning and Environment, Nevis. I'm the Senior Environmental Officer.
Good morning. My name is Taylor Clayton. I'm the Regional Project Manager for the PROMAR project. I work for the United Nations Environment Program's Cartagena Convention Secretariat based in Kingston, Jamaica. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hello, good morning. My name is Short Laplace. I am the Director for the St. Kitts and Nevis Bureau of Standards.
Good morning, Lenwick Lake from CFBC, co-leader on the PROMAR project with Dr. Narayan, and special project analyst at the CFBC.
Okay, I would like to hear a little bit more about the Cartagena project, and if St. Kitts and Nevis has signed on to any of the agreements, the protocols, and so on with that project.
Thank you. So the Cartagena Convention is an agreement signed on by, I believe, 26 parties in the wider Caribbean region. And under the Cartagena Convention, there are different protocols, one of which is land-based, looking at land-based pollution. And of course, that encapsulates plastic pollution. So I believe St. Kitts and Nevis is indeed a signatory and is committed to this work, which we're very pleased about, and we hope that other parties in the region will sign on. So all of our work on plastic pollution, including the PROMAR project, falls under that protocol broadly.
Now, Ms. Morton, can you speak to the Department of Environment and its collaboration with this project here at CFBC?
So in 2021, UNEP, they contacted the Department of Environment and they asked us to propose a project. So we actually developed this PROMAR project. The funders, they are an NGO, so they wanted a non-governmental organization to implement this project. And we contacted several NGOs. CFBC, which is a statutory body, was successful, and we are happy to work closely with the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College to implement this project.
Now, there has been a lot of talk, there's a buzzword around St. Kitts and Nevis right now, is the Sustainable Island State agenda that is, being talked about a lot. Now, how, is it FEMA? FEMA. How do you think that this project fits into that Sustainable Island State agenda?
I think that it can definitely fit in when you really look at it. Plastics have been polluting our seas, have been polluting our wetlands that we do need to preserve. When you really look at it, like say in Nevis, our wetlands and our guts actually help replenish our underground aquifer. So when you're polluting these areas, you're polluting the waters that we eventually drink. So when you work with programs that to help to clean up these wastes, you're actually helping us, the people, the humans, to live a healthier life. So when you look in terms of the land itself, if you clean the land becomes more healthier. And that's the way we promote the tourists. We promote tourism in terms of cleaner seas, cleaner environment, cleaner airs. We encourage the people to come. You have a different atmosphere. You breathe fresh air. You don't have to deal with smogs or anything that the big cities offered. When you come here, you want to have everything nice, pristine. Having programs like this to help to clean up the area, it helps in to further develop our lands in terms of keeping it nice and clean. You can do reforestation if any areas are deforested. It helps in terms of for our future when you really look at it. We don't have diamonds, we don't have golds, like I said earlier. This is what we have, and we need to preserve it. And to have it by developing all these different types of programs to further push our agenda for sustainability, this is just another step in the direction to ensure that we have a future to look forward to. Our kids, our grandkids, our great-grandkids. Because when you really listen to what the older folks said in the past, sometimes they say they had a better scope of recycling. But sometimes when you really look at it, they did what they had to do. Because it's like this crocus bag and these stuff from England, they had no choice if they didn't have cups. They recycled it, but they didn't know what they were doing. But sometimes when you look at it, you say, wow, they had a better handling than what we did. So sometimes that is how I look at things. We have to ensure that the future still exists for us, that we are not seen as a failing state, that we still could survive 100 years from now. So these are just one of the different steps that we could look forward to.
Okay. Now, Mr. Laplace, you are the director of the St. Kitts and Nevis Bureau of Standards, and you deal with standards. Just recently, you had to recall some water, which was not fit for consumption, or they were not properly labeled, or whatever the case is. We hear about plastics getting into our water sources and our food chain and all of that. So could you speak to, in terms of why standards are important when it comes to our food, when it comes to our water, and how plastic pollution can actually affect those things, and what the Bureau of Standards is doing as a preventative measure?
Thank you, Lesroy. And I must echo the sentiments as well for this project, because it dovetails nicely into some of the activities that we are doing at the multipurpose lab, which falls under the remit of the Bureau of Standards. Now, I am not sure if you're aware that our lab is an accredited lab. So we're now expanding our scope to accredit all the labs under our remit. We have successfully done so as recent as 2 weeks ago. Now, as it relates to the testing, that is where we come in under this project. So we are partnering to provide that confirmation to see the level of contamination from plastics, even at the micro and the nano level. We have staff, we have the equipment, we have the training, and of course the accreditation as well. So when it comes to microplastics, we have different tiers. Now, you would have seen the demonstration with Taiwan, showing us that you can convert PT into polyester with the shorts. So that was something very interesting and should be encouraged even more. Now, unfortunately, some of these plastics still get into the environment and they become persistent. So you have studies been done even as far as Antarctica, where they would have taken a sample about 200 to 300 feet below the surface, and they found microplastics. So if there's no activity there, and you have microplastics in the core, it shows that it's already here. Now, how intrusive it is, we don't know. The testing, hopefully, as we move forward in this project, will reveal that. So we will be looking at fish, food, water, in terms of the microplastic. Now, outside of this project, we are also looking at things like hormone intrusion into the drinking water, pesticide residue from farming, how that affects our drinking water as well. So it's, as I said, this dovetails into an activity that we already have running. So this would assess the urgency and support environment and, you know, the UN agencies as well, to show that we are committed. We have the training expertise on island as well to successfully implement a project on this scale. Thank you.
Right. Now, Mr. Lake, you are an educator.
Yes, I am.
And a project like this will not be possible if there is not education and awareness in terms of people understanding why plastic pollution harms the environment, and not just the human environment, everything. It harms human life, it harms animal life, it harms everything.
Yeah.
You know, so speak to a little bit to the education of this.
Yeah. One aspect of this project is the idea of reaching out to stakeholders, not just businesses, but schools, students, right? Because it's amazing that we learn some certain things and it startles us. For example, as Stuart said, we learned that we can turn bottles into shirts. We learned that St. Kitts Nevis is probably one of the highest producer of plastic waste. Students need to know that. Businesses need to know that. Stakeholders need to know that. And then what can we do as a society to look at a circular economy? Because the waste, as the representative from the Taiwan ICDF said, transporting that waste is also expensive. So what innovations can we look at in St. Kitts Nevis to deal with that amount of waste we generate? I mean, the T-shirt is good, but local innovation. We have institutes of higher learning here. We have good high schools. But once we reach to them and to other stakeholders, we can see what can we do as a federation to advance, for example, that circular economy that allows us to manage waste, make waste economical for us as well, as we would say, plastic waste. And the underlying and most important thing about it is that we don't allow it to get into our waterways, because once it gets there, we know to get it back is always a challenge, right? And for small island states like St. Kitts Nevis, we are surrounded by water. Our oceans are our bread and butter. We fish, we use for transport, so we have to protect that fragile ecosystem. So a project like this will allow us to reach schools, students, stakeholders, businesses, and let them know we all have to collaborate if we gotta deal with this issue of plastic waste.
So we are, PROMAR is basically, we are focused on the Caribbean Sea. We focus on the Gulf of Mexico and other, just the Caribbean Sea. Just the Caribbean Sea. And as someone said earlier, there are other plastics and so on coming from other areas into the Caribbean Sea. And so it has to be a collaborative effort and so on. But can you speak to what you think are some of the most effective strategies for marine litter prevention that you have seen?
Thank you. I think there are several aspects to this. So indeed, we need to think about this problem and thus the solution as transboundary, and we need to think about collaborative solutions across the life cycle and across the value chain of plastics. So I think typically what we see when we think about solutions, we think about oftentimes downstream solutions. So that's recycling, dealing with the waste once it's already waste. But I think increasingly we need to shift mindsets, including our own, but also through education, as Mr. Lake was mentioning, among others. We need to think about upstream solutions and about the whole circular economy. So upstream can refer to thinking about preventing the waste from occurring in the first place. So avoiding it, saying, no, I don't want this single-use plastic bottle. I'm not going to use this single-use plastic bag. Avoidance, thinking about reuse, repurposing, refill. So when we think about reusing items, we can also think about refilling services. We've seen successful pilots, mostly in Latin America, less so in the Caribbean, but I think there's big potential here to think about refill schemes. So perhaps one example could be a micro enterprise where a tricycle cart or so could sell laundry detergent in a refill system in different neighborhoods. That way, communities members wouldn't necessarily need to buy just their plastic bag of laundry detergent for that week, but maybe there could be a refill system where they have a jug and then they refill it as needed. And so I think there's a big potential for entrepreneurship and for innovation when we think about changing business models and when we think about upstream solutions, really, how do we actually stop the waste from occurring? Because creating barriers in the sea and preventing the waste from going into the gut, or from the gut to the river to the sea, yes, very important. We absolutely need that. But we need multiple interventions concurrently. So those downstream solutions, but also those upstream solutions, reducing waste itself.
Yes, and I want to thank you so much for all of your contributions. What I have seen here in St. Kitts and Nevis is that a lot of waste is being thrown into the guts. You know, we have a lot of guts. Plastic bottles, of course, you know, we still import all these sodas and water and so on in plastic bottles, and people just dump them into the guts. So who is going to police the guts? That's part of the problem, policing the guts, because then the rain comes, the water comes from the mountain, it takes all these plastic bottles then down to the ocean. And that's a big part of the problem, our guts. And I think that Dr. Nawin said that two of the areas that we were working on, the Westbourne gut and College Street gut, and that they converge. And a lot of the plastics are swept down to the sea by these two guts whenever we have heavy rainfall and so on. But thank you so much for coming and sharing about this very important project that we are implementing here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Of course, it's being implemented in other countries as well. And the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College is very happy to have you and to have your collaboration with the institution on this environmental project. Thank you very much.